So hi, Yasir here. Thanks for attending this session today. This will be the sixth webinar from the series of ones we are conducting focused on merchant acquisition tactics in e-commerce. The topic today will be focused on content marketing in 2021. So allow me to introduce you to Stefan Jorgensen and Nikolai Cuban first, our speakers for the topic today. So Stefan is originally from Denmark, and after running several e-commerce startups in 2010, Stefan moved to Berlin and founded itembase.com, now a San Francisco-based company. His experience in sales and with purchasing behaviors relative to e-commerce, digital profiles from social networking, and privacy-focused law degrees have given Stefan insight into providing consumers the right information at the right time. Now introducing Nikolai. Nikolai is the CEO of Content Bird. He is a Berlin-based entrepreneur with more than 9 years of experience in building and managing digital companies and was involved in founding of Ecomi, one of the most international social commerce technology, among others. So Nikolai focused on strategic business development as well as operationally on implementation, scaling, and controlling of successful online marketing, sales, and e-commerce processes. So before giving the floor to Stefan and Nikolai, just a quick reminder, as usual, we have a Q&A session afterwards with an open mic, but if you start having some of the questions, so just feel free to write it on the chat and we will ask it at the end. So with no further ado, I let the floor to Stefan to start the session today. By you, Stefan.
Thank you very much, Yasir. Before I get started, I just want to remind everybody that this is basically a recurring series. The next event will be on April 22nd, where we also are part of the 2021 Commerce Show. So you'll be able to basically give us some feedback on what topics you'd like to hear about. We might be able to even talk about more topics at the next event, given that everything is a little bit longer. And for today, we'll be doing a quick intro, which we're in the middle of. Then I'll be talking about one particular case study that is basically around content, around integration and industry terms and industry brands that we typically see implemented very well by the partners and companies we're working with. And then we'll jump in and talk to Nikolai, who can talk much better about basically content and overall how to implement your content strategy, what is important, what you need to take into account. As Yasir mentioned before, and the background behind this whole series is essentially that over the years we've been working in e-commerce overall. I'm originally from Denmark, which means that it's a very small country, as you can imagine. So if you're an entrepreneur in a small country, you only have one strategy available, at least if you're a Danish person, which means conquering like the Vikings. So now over the past 10 years, we work with a lot of company in e-commerce. And all of these companies have a similar kind of challenge. Now they are typically coming from more old school industries, and that means that e-commerce is relatively new for many companies. There's a lot of material on how do you sell in a B2B environment, how do you market in a B2B environment, all these different things. But there's limited amount of material on how do you actually sell to merchants and to brands in a B2B environment and an e-commerce environment. So typically these companies face the challenges of limited knowledge sharing between the professionals, which we're trying to basically do with these events. They are having challenges in cross-department collaboration because the IT department is now highly important for many of these strategies, which they haven't been used to basically being. And that means that also a lot of technical resources have to be prioritized to be able to basically solve these challenges that the companies are having. So that's why we're organizing these events to bring the ecosystem together and basically share the knowledge of how to go out and acquire merchants and retailers and brands more efficiently. And as you probably know now with COVID as well, there's never been a better time in history to actually work with and sell to e-commerce merchants and digital merchants, which was already growing a lot before. But now with COVID, I guess everybody has become very aware of where the future basically lies. So what you'll learn today is you'll learn some insights overall on content marketing. You'll get an industry case study from me to start with, and then I'm sure Nikolai will talk about a lot of different tips and tricks afterwards. And before we get started with my case study, we just want to make sure everybody is aware who everybody who participates here or watches our webinar, you'll be able to get free conference tickets for the 2021 Commerce Show, where we are also co-sponsors on, and we'll be having the next event as part of that conference, basically. Now I'm going to jump into the first case study, which is really talking about how you can leverage, and that's some of the things that we really work a lot with, how you can leverage content around integrations into systems that merchants are using to basically optimize your marketing and sales process all the way from actually reaching merchants to converting and onboarding them. The company that we'll be talking about where we implemented this with is essentially a label printing solution in the shipping space that typically had a sales team that will focus on their service descriptions, on the rates, everything that's traditionally very important in logistics. But the merchants would start asking a lot of other questions about e-commerce. What markets should I sell in? What other tools should I use? All these kind of different things. Some of the things that sales people and management would be getting from the merchants that they would be selling to in e-commerce. And the way the website had been set up, which is very traditional and very good, it has all the different sections about the company, content about the solution, content about some technical things on the solution, a blog, all of these traditional things, which are very important. And I think Nikolai will talk much more about that. What it didn't have, however, was information on some of the integrations that the merchants would have to use, some of the industry brands that the merchants were already using when they were operating their e-commerce businesses. So what we basically helped them implement was a three-step process. We always try to put it into concrete actions. So when I'm giving examples now, some of these things you can actually go ahead and implement that yourself after you watch this webinar. We split them into three different ones. So we have the grassroots solution. You can very quickly do that. You don't need a lot of resources. The medium one, you probably need a little bit more team involved to get it done, and the advanced one, you probably need your IT team involved to get that done properly. The first one is really very simple in that regard. Instead of only having information and content on your solution, you want to include different content pieces, and initially you want to include a tab in the menu and the header that basically talks about what integrations you have available, what industries you're selling to. So when you're selling to e-commerce merchants, you want to have a tab that shows, it's fashion, is it medical, is it electronics, what is it? So basically the merchant can go in and feel that that you already understand them, and you want to have a tab available with the integrations where you basically show all the different integrations that you have available, right? So you want to show that you're compatible with Shopify, with BigCommerce, whatever is out there, to make sure that a merchant feels your service is ready to basically serve their specific needs. And that's a very simple thing to do. Add that into your menu, make sure that the merchants can find it very prominently, so they don't have that in their minds whenever they're considering your solution. The second part, which you can then do, is you can start creating basically landing pages that has content on the specific industry players. So for example, Shopify, you want to basically create content about how your solution is working for Shopify merchants. That can be done, of course, simpler or more complicated, depending on how deep you want to go. But you want to make sure you mention some of these things. So again, the merchant has a very nice flow from coming into your website, understanding you have integrations available, or you're working with fashion merchants, to going deep in and saying, this is how you get started. If you're a fashion merchant selling on Shopify, this is how you can very easily get started with the solution. So that's the second step, which takes a little bit more team effort, of course. And the third step is more advanced in terms of you probably want to integrate IT into this, and you want to go into deeper analytics. You want to start understanding some of these keywords you have out there now about Shopify, about BigCommerce, all of these things. They're going to start basically generating keywords on your search results, and what you can do is start basically finding out what are some of the other keywords that are relevant that you can start ranking on? So essentially, you can start creating content around, let's say again, Shopify, about other industry players and saying, you know, what are the top 10 apps on Shopify that support you, growing your sales. Everybody that is growing their sales will also be shipping more. So it's a very nice added value to your basically solution to start leveraging these brand names of the industry. And that will basically rank you higher on different pieces of content and position you amongst these different industry players. So that's some of the things that we're typically working on with content marketing because we focus on and work a lot with integrations. But I will now hand it over to Nikolai and talk a little bit more about, and let him talk a little bit more about overall content strategies. So with no further ado, I'll introduce Nikolai. I'll let Nikolai introduce himself, and then I'm sure he'll run through a couple of slides, and then we can have a Q&A session.
Thanks, Stefan. Really hands-on tips. I will give you more a brief overview and try to give some inspirations and ideas how we think about content marketing in general. And I think content marketing it's a huge chance for B2B companies to grow their visibility and to really grow online. And therefore I have some ideas and some overview of how we think about it. And so my name is Nikolai, as I'm already was already introduced. So I'm CEO and founder of ContentBird. We have a content operation software that helps thousands of users to create content that gets visible, and we help teams to be better organized in all their content processes. And in Germany, we made a study in end of last year. We came up with some great statistics, and one is that the majority of all marketing managers, they are sure that content marketing is even more important than before we have this COVID thing. Why? Because I think in general there was the trend, but it's getting clearer and clearer. The users' behavior is changing, and content marketing is not a can do. I think it's more a must do right now. So 48% of the buyers, they really demand content from companies because they trust companies that create the right content, and 3 out of 4 purchase decisions is influenced by digital content. So, and this just should give you an understanding of how important this thing is. And there's often the case, okay, in B2C it works, but how about B2B? And I think the picture is telling a good story. So I don't know who you are, I don't know your company, and so on. And you want to sell me something. And when you acquire B2B companies out there, so with ContentBird, we help companies like Generali, insurance company, or finance, or a lot of e-commerce companies. And the most companies we are talking to, they already have a great understanding of who we are and what we do. Because the modern buyer is already getting a lot of information about your company, about your products, about your value proposition before your sales even talks to them. And this is what content really can help you. Content can help you to get visible, but also to create the first touch points in the beginning of a funnel. Just close the window here because it's a bit loud. I think when we keep it easy, I think content can help to acquire and to keep your customers. And the first thing that you can really accomplish with content, because it's often the discussion, why do we produce content? Why do we need content? What is this content for? And I think generating visibility is always, of course, a huge thing you can accomplish with content marketing. So, because if you think about content as the center of all your digital activities and all your marketing activities, it really helps you to get visible in the search engines. It helps you to get visible on social media. It helps you to have great informational content for your newsletters and so on. So content really helps to increase your visibility. And as Stefan already showed us, the Google visibility is still an important driver of traffic and an important driver of high quality traffic. And without high quality content and really optimized content for the specific channels, the chance to really be visible is not that big. So you have to really focus on creating content that generates visibility. And the second thing is, of course, you can create trust, and you can position yourself as a thought leader with great content, because when you have a great offer for your for merchants or other companies in general, if you have a great knowledge about your industry, and you are talking about this, and you're showing your potential clients a lot of your knowledge, and what we say is you create a digital consulting you create digital consulting content. Yeah, so the content you have face to face is not scalable, but if you create digital content out of it, like blog posts, webinars, white papers, and so on, you really can scale a high quality interaction with your potential clients and build trust and your status as an expert. And of course, the third thing is you can use content to drive conversions and to increase the retention, because if you want a client and you can activate your client with content, of course, different content on different parts of the funnel, but you can also retain your clients with content. So if you want a client and you keep the contact, how can you keep the contact? Yeah, you cannot always upsell your clients. You should also try to stay in touch with information that really help your client, and this is what you can where you can use content for, to really stay in touch and have quality touch points with your existing customers. And in other words, I think content helps you alongside the whole customer journey, from the first idea of your potential client to get some information about your offer, and this basically often starts in the search engines, but also to consider how they really can use your services, and this goes to, let's say, white papers and case studies, and also to really win and retain the customer. So content is really valuable on every single step of the customer journey phase. But what you have to understand, and this is often the case, that's not so easy to understand, because the return on invest dynamics of content, they are different to other marketing activities. So when you start investing in paid ads, for example, you spend your budget and you directly generate the traffic, but the traffic scales with the budget. And in content marketing, we have a different dynamic, because you can start to invest in content and you can invest over a long time, and content pays dividends. So the content you create today can create traffic tomorrow and next year, and this is what really makes it so valuable. So if you create really great content, it really helps you to stay visible, even if you shift your budgets or you do other things. So therefore, content is a long-term game, and it's not costs, it's an investment for your visibility and for your company, because how can you really set apart in high competitive markets? Paid advertising is not that easy with a small Google ad to really set yourself apart, but content really can help you to differentiate yourself and your company, and therefore content is a long-term game and an investment. And in the end, it's a funnel, and definitely it's hard work. So you start with the visibility. You create hygiene content that is in demand. What is your audience looking for? Create content, start to create blog posts, start to create glossars and so on, create white papers to generate leads, for example, and then let's say it's close the deals. But the big problem is, or another point is, what you have to think about is, it's not always about you and your product. So it's about your target group, it's about your story, it's about their interests, and you have to find out what they're really interested in, and then you can place your content assets and your products. But first you have to create value for your target group, and this is what content marketing is all about: creating value for your target group, and then of course monetize this visibility. And but what you need is a clear system, because everyone is able, or everyone can produce content, like everyone can play football, but not everyone is playing successfully, and this is the same with content. So what you really need is, you need to come to crystal clear content operations and content success is, you need a great strategy framework. So why do you create content? Who's the persona, and so on? yeah, you have to understand what your personas and target group are searching online. Yeah, so you need a data-driven research strategy and not creating content yeah, out of nowhere. So you have to really validate what makes sense. You should have efficient planning for your teams so that they really plan their content activities on different channels. It's getting more and more complex to really get and stay visible. So because of there's search, there's social, there's newsletters, there are so many channels. So you have to plan the things. You have to optimize and standardize creation. You have to use the distribution on different channels to make the content visible, because you have to think of content like a product. So content has to have great quality, but you have to promote it. You have to market it. Otherwise, it's only content and no content marketing. And in the end, of course, you need a data-driven approach. So how can you analyze the success of your content? How can you analyze return on investment of your activities? And therefore, this is often the case what we see out there when we come to companies. So everyone is creating any kind of content, but there are often a lot of tactics, but lack in strategy and lack in a really structured approach. And yeah, of course, this is what we do with ContentBird. So we help you to, as a content operations software, to go to crystal clear content operations, and we centralize your whole content marketing activities from strategy to processes to workflows. We have the whole collaboration of everyone who's involved in the process, so internal, external stakeholders that are involved, and we help you with integration of existing systems like distribution channels, but also data provider. And we do this for a lot of B2B companies, agencies, e-commerce as well. And yeah, in the end, they bring a successful content strategy with ContentBird to life. And this is what we try to accomplish, and we help them to get visibility in the modern digital world with content. Thanks.
Great. This was very good, but this obviously doesn't sound, not only content, but overall, it doesn't sound necessarily cheap. So what is your thoughts on how much budget do you need to allocate? Because I guess, starting to write a blog post now and then, there must be some kind of inflection point where it actually brings value. And if you don't go over that, nothing really happens. Or how do you see that?
Yeah, exactly. So this is always the question. So, and I think it comes a bit back to this illustration here. So I think you cannot really say, okay, X, Y, Z% of your budget should be in content. It depends a bit on your holistic approach to marketing, because I think, of course, with paid ads, you can generate quick results. But with content, it's a long-term investment. But I think from a starting point, you should think about starting with a kind of digital magazine or digital blog. And it depends on your resources, of course, but you can also start small, right? So you can start with an internal content marketing manager or online marketing manager that can also orchestrate external resources, external authors that actually create the content. And this is what we see in a lot of clients of ContentBird, that they have kind of hybrid models. So they manage the strategy, the planning, the research, and the analytics in-house, but the creation of the blog post or social media post is it's external resources. So it depends. And therefore, I think what a tip from our side is to, or what we have also in our software, is to analyze the traffic you generate with content organically, and if you compare that to the price per click you pay on paid ads, you can compare what's the value of the traffic you generate. And therefore, of course, there should be a positive ROI. And I think I'm not the fan of marketing budgets. I'm a fan of return on investment marketing. So, and this is what you have to measure, and then you can allocate the budgets.
Yeah, I noticed on one of your slides it says it's not content marketing if it doesn't generate sales, which is probably that's actually a very good kind of statement, because I think a lot of it's also a little bit almost the other way around. I think a lot of people are hesitating to go into content marketing because they say that nothing happens, right? I tried it out, I don't get any sales, what's going on? And then you hear a lot of, at least if I read about or hear a high level about it, a lot of people saying, yeah, it's not about the sales. And you essentially say the other thing. So it's a little bit, I guess, in between, right?
Yeah, come on. So in the end, I think it's a marketing activity that should drive sales in the end. But of course, it has some effects that other marketing activities maybe do not have. Yeah, so like education, like building trust, like showing knowledge, like building relationships, and so on. But why is a company doing this in the end? Yeah, to drive sales. And I think you have to look from a broader perspective on content. So you can start create content that is in demand but not driving sales directly for your blog, for example. But if you really have a holistic approach to marketing, you generate your target group on your blog, and then you can use retargeting techniques, and you can use first lead generation techniques to start the conversation with your potential client. And content is maybe not closing the deal, especially not in B2B. Yeah, there's human interaction often, but it's possible, or it's able to start the conversation that leads to the deal. And in the end, I think it should drive sales. Otherwise, yeah.
No, I totally agree. It's just interesting to see, because you oftentimes have the two opposite or the two points in the middle.
Definitely.
So what do you typically see? What is I think we only have 1 minute left now, so I'll make it very quick. What do you typically see that is working well for now? You're also selling to e-commerce merchants yourself, right? So do you have a couple of things where you say these are things that are working now in 2021? This is something you definitely should do.
Yeah, I think it's still the same to do a good job on the basics. Yeah, to really set up a website that is optimized for search engines. And it's important to create a topic planning and a content plan for which topics you want to create visibility on. Yeah, to really do your research and for which keywords you should create content, and so on. And then you can start with creating content pieces like white papers, like webinars, like checklists you can offer your potential clients for downloads. Because what I think is always, you have to think from the end to the beginning. So you can start with thinking about the sale, but then you can think about how can we generate the leads, and then how can we generate the traffic that becomes a lead, and therefore think about this. Yeah, so which content offers we can create to generate leads, and how can we promote these offers? Because sometimes if you create a great white paper, you can create 20 or 25 blog posts out of it, and this is really a great approach to start small, but also generate a lot of impact. And you can push you distribute these blog posts in your newsletter and in your social media, and then one piece of content really helps you to generate visibility, to recycle your content, right? So
got it. Perfect. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Nikolai, for being here. And I think the slide you have on is probably the best slide, the most saying of all of them. But yeah, thanks a lot.
Well, thanks, Stefan. Thanks, Nikolai, for this great presentation, both of you guys. So just a quick reminder for the ones that you just entered at the end of the session. This session obviously is also uploaded on online, so you can have a look on the past webinars. So feel free to pass by our YouTube channel and you can have a look on them. Also, I would like to thanks everyone coming by today to the webinar. And as Stefan mentioned, we will be happy to give away some tickets. We still have a few of them for our conference for our e-commerce show in April. So feel free to follow us and subscribe to our LinkedIn page so you can have and receive more information about the event itself. So thanks, Stefan, again, and talk to you guys to our next session, and hopefully on the e-commerce show. Have a good one.
Thank you, Yasir. Thanks, everybody. All right, bye-bye.